Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Sunrise on the Inside podcast, a space where we share inspiring interviews and stories from thoughtful leaders in business, health and wellness, entrepreneurship and sports. Here we talk about tools, habits, routines and tactics they use that help them feel calm, revived and rebalanced whenever they face challenges in life. I'm your host, Nico Estrella, a serial entrepreneur, former professional soccer player and co-founder of Waku. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Sunrise on the Inside podcast. I am very excited for today's guest. His name is Gary Stotler. He has an amazing story. I am very happy to have you here in the podcast. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Gary, so for the people that's listening right now and haven't heard from you yet, can you share a little bit of your story and a little bit of your background with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just start from the beginning and give you the best synopsis I can in just a couple minutes. So, graduated college 2008 right after the stock market crashed and had a baby on the way. Needed a job, so I started selling cars. It was awful, and picked up a book and read that book, and it changed the entire direction of my life. It taught me a couple things. One, learn everything you can about people, learn everything you can about sales and business, and work your tail off. So that's what I did. I became amazing at selling cars, amazing at business. And then I had some health struggles. So 4 days before my son's 4th birthday, I stepped on the scale at 400 pounds. And I was 28 years old, and I knew I was on a fast track to a heart attack by the time I was 35. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. So I did the most logical thing, and I took a walk around the block. And I took a walk around the block the next day and took a walk around the block the next day. I retaught myself how to eat. And 8 years later, I have not stopped moving forward. So I've lost 200 pounds. I've run multiple 100-mile races. I've taught myself how to ride a mountain bike. I've mountain biked 100 miles through the highest mountains of Colorado. And I've turned my health and my fitness entirely around. In the process of business, I've learned an extraordinary amount about business, about fitness, about life, and I've turned myself into an executive coach, and I do strategic development for organizations and businesses. And so throughout the entire, last 8 to 13 years, depending on how you look at it, I've become a new person, and then I've become a new person, and then I've become a new person again, overcoming all sorts of things in every single aspect of life. I could spend an hour just telling you my story, but that's a quick synopsis of.
Awesome, Gary. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's you really have such an inspiring story. I have a bunch of questions for you today. First, a bit of like a tactical question, but what was that book that you read? The first book that you picked up and helped you to get into this path?
Yes, it's called Selling the Secret of Success. So Selling the Secret of Success by Grant Cardone. It's been rebranded to as Sell to Survive. So it was a self-published book back in 2008, and it's now a New York Times bestseller.
Got it. I have to check that out, and I'm gonna put the link on the notes to the book. Because from what I can hear, it's not only about sales, right? It sounds like it's a lot about learning about people and learning about more than just sales. Do you remember what was one of the main things that impacted you from reading that book, and how did you stumble upon the book at that point?
So I'll start with how I got it. I'd been in the car business for 3 months, and I was about to quit because I hadn't sold anything. And so I walked into my boss's office, and I was like, do you have a book or anything that can teach me how to sell a car? And he gave me that book. And when I picked it up and started reading it, the exact thing that I picked up from it was the gentleman who wrote the book, Grant Cardone. At this time, he was just getting his coaching and sales training career going, but I really identified with him. He grew up lower middle class. He lost his father at a young age. He was into drugs and alcohol. He graduated college, during the savings and loan crisis, started selling cars, worked his tail off, got sober, cleaned up his life, got into the top 1% of sales in the car business, and he literally transformed his life from nothing to everything. And I looked at it, I said, wow, this guy started, like, I'm starting where this guy started, and look what he's done with his life, and this is how he did it. And I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. And so I just started learning anything and everything that I possibly could and working my tail off. And sure enough, his process is as pure as could be. Learn everything you can, work your tail off, and you can start at nothing wherever you are and turn yourself into anything that you want.
I love that. Yeah, I've heard about Grant Cardone, but so far I haven't read his books. But a bunch of friends have recommended his books, yeah, because they sound to be very impactful. Okay, Gary. So at this point, I wanted to ask you a question. So whenever you were 28 and you were 400 pounds, um, what was the thing that made you wanna change that lifestyle? Was there any particular event that happened in your life? And I ask this question because I know that whenever you've been in bad habits or in unhealthy habits for years, it can be very challenging to get out of them, right? Because kind of like your mindset is already stuck into them, and that can be with a lot of unhealthy habits that we all have. um, and like, at least in my case, I know that in the unhealthy habits that I have had before, I already know that I need to change the lifestyle, but it's kind of like just there. And normally you always say, like, I don't know, I'm gonna start Monday, or you start for a little bit and then it doesn't stick, and maybe you make every year New Year's resolution, and nothing changes. Um, so there, I guess there's two questions. There's first, what was the thing that made you want to start changing the lifestyle, and and how was that process for you? Like, how did you start to work on the mindset shift?
It's a great question. So I'm going to answer the second question first. The mindset shift I had been working on for several years, working in the car business, making myself better. Every single day, I was reading, I was learning, I was working on myself in every single way mentally. And so the intelligence had been built up, built up, built up, built up. And then that moment in time was the couple days before my son's birthday. And when I stepped on the scale and I saw that number, 397 pounds, it scared me to death. I knew that if I did not change in that moment in time, that I was going to die. And so that moment scared me. And I knew that I didn't know what to do. I just knew that whatever it was going to take a lot of hard work. And I was used to working hard. I was used to developing myself. And so all I did was I took all of the concepts that I learned in business. You know, you take a penny and you invest a penny every single day, and you just consistently keep adding and adding and adding and adding to the positives, and then you just keep subtracting and subtracting and subtracting from the detrimental or the poor habits. If you just add in the good things and crowd out the unhealthy and the poor things, eventually you will get better. And it was that moment in time that I took everything that I learned in business and I just flip-flopped it, and I said, okay, if it works in business, if it works in making money, it's going to work in fitness. And so I trusted the process enough, and I had enough intelligence around the process that I just shifted and said, I'm going to walk around the block. I'm going to add in physical activity every single day. I'm going to do whatever I can, which wasn't really much, but I'm going to do everything that I can. And it took me about a month to be able to walk a mile, consistently on a day-to-day basis. But it took me a month to go a mile, and it took me 6 months, and I was walking 5 miles a day. And then I retaught myself how to eat. So I had a little 4-ounce salsa bowl that's about as big as my palm, and anything that went in my body went through this bowl. So I want to be clear, 4 ounces isn't all I ate, but if it went through, it had to go through that bowl. And so what that did was it taught me portions. It taught me to slow down. It taught me how much I was actually eating. And so in a relatively quick period of time, I reduced how much I was eating by 75%. And what that did was I started eating slower, and then I started feeling better. So I started eating better food. I started making a conscious choice to eat better food. I felt full, which really helped me add in more positive habits in the long run. So I was adding in the physical activity. I was crowding out the poor and unhealthy eating habits. And those two things really compounded extremely quickly in my viewpoint I lost 110 pounds in a year. Most people would be happy to lose 20 in a year. And I did, that first year, all I did was I just started moving my body. And to this day, 8 years later, I still haven't stopped moving my body. I still go out for a walk around the block every single day. Even if it's 20 minutes, I still walk around the block every day. And so I was able to build those habits for the long term, by not having to do everything, but by doing something and building that consistent self-discipline to do what I need to do.
I love that, and I really love what you mentioned um, about that. For you, it was not like a thing that was all of a sudden. It was just like you wanted to change, and it was that. Like normally mindset, I know that it takes some time to shift, right? And well, a lot of times it gets to a point where there is one thing that kind of like breaks the breaks the seal, kind of. And but it has been building for some months, or maybe for some years. So I really like that, because I really believe in the power of feeding your brain or feeding yourself the right things, right? And um, it does make a difference whenever one day you decide that instead of watching 2 hours of Netflix, you watch maybe 1 hour and a half, and the other 30 minutes you consume something a bit better. And even if it's just 30 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, or uh, I know that that starts to build in some part of our brain. It starts to just like accumulate, right? um, so I really wanted to double down on that, because I really believe in that power of what's the word for that? It's whenever you are accumulating things. It's
The compound effect.
the compound effect. That's exactly what I was looking for. That compound effect that you mentioned is very, very powerful, and it's very real. You can really, after some weeks of days or days of consistently doing something, you're gonna feel the difference, right? So I loved what you said. And then at this point, um, were you doing everything just by yourself, or did you have somebody that was helping you, or did you were you part of any group of, of walkers, um, or it was everything you were just reading, and it was basically self-taught on how to eat better, or how to start exercising?
That's a great question. So I'm completely self-taught when it comes to fitness and health, business. My wife at the time, we would walk together, and we every once in a while we would run together, but that was relatively short-lived. That was about as big as my community got, was us two moving our body together. Everything that I learned was I would pick up a book at the public library. I would find a video on YouTube. I would find my boss. He was really wonderful once I got into the habit of reading. He challenged me to read as much as I could, and he has an amazing library. So he would drop a book off on my desk, and I would read it, and I would drop it in his box, and he would drop off another book. So it was all about just consuming as much information as I could. And one of the best pieces of information that I got, or best lessons that I got, is be a student, don't be a follower. There's so much information out there that if we get on one track, no, you and me can do the same thing, and we're going to do it completely different ways. Now, hopefully I can learn something from you, and you can learn something from me, but I want you to be a student of me. Not, I don't want you to follow me. I want to be a student of you. I don't want to follow you because we have completely different experiences. I don't know you from Bob down the street, but I guarantee our life path is different. And so I can't tell you this is it's going to be A, B, C, D for you, and you can't tell me it's going to be one, two, three, four for me because it's not. So I wanted to teach you something, and I want you to teach me something. So I wanted to be a student, not a follower. And that allowed me to open up my world to stuff that I wouldn't have read otherwise. Because I've read books that I'm like, this is amazing. And if I would have been closed minded, there's no way that I would have read this book. But I needed that one page off of that one chapter that helped me get to that next level. And so I just want to make sure that I pound that into, this conversation. Be a student, don't be a follower, and open your mind, because you never know how that one little piece of information is going to be that stepping stone, that puzzle piece to really fit in there and help you take the next best step of the rest of your life.
I love that. That's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so then you start this journey, and I bet at the beginning it must have been very challenging, right? I bet there were some days, some weeks that you were not feeling like going to work or going out for a walk, because I know that it's challenging sometimes to make these shifts, even if the first days you start feeling very motivated, right? You start losing steam as you keep going. Um, at those points, because like I asked that question about the community, because I know that for me it has helped a lot to have a friend that's going for a run, or have a group that's kind of like keeping me accountable for what I want to do. I know that that's powerful for me and that works for me. But what do you think was the key for you to be able to stay consistent, moreover in the early days? Because I know that whenever you're in a journey like this, it gets to a point where you build enough momentum that a lot of times that momentum just like helps you to keep going, and it starts to maybe not become easy, but um, at least you get in the rhythm, and it starts to become a habit, right? It starts whenever the mindset already shifts, it's already a bit easier. But in those early days, what do you think was key for you to be able to stay consistent?
I didn't want to die. It was pure internal drive that I didn't want to feel. I didn't want to feel crappy about myself anymore. I didn't. I was so tired of feeling gross. I was so tired of being tired. I just didn't want to die, and I was willing to do anything and everything that it possibly took to just keep moving forward. That's it's as plain as simple as that. Like, it was, I had built this internal fire and I was not gonna quit. I refused to quit. Even today, like, even when stuff gets hard, I'm gonna go do it because I'm just not gonna quit. And I just refuse to quit. That's all there is to it.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's really powerful. And hey, just a quick pause for a message from Waku, and we will be right back to the interview. We are very excited to let everyone know we've just launched Waku's crowdfunding equity campaign through Republic, a platform that allows anyone to invest in private startups like Waku. Waku is now part of a very exclusive group of highly vetted startups from Republic, and now you can become an investor of Waku starting with investments as small as $100. If you'd like to learn more about why to invest in Waku and why this is such a great investment opportunity, you can go to republic.co/Waku. That's republic.co/WAKU. We will be thrilled to have you join us in our journey to bring to the world the most refreshing herbal tea with gut health benefits and help to create impact in the livelihoods of hundreds of Ecuadorian farmers. Let's get back to the show. And I love one phrase that you have on your website that I took some notes on, that says the personal power begins when you can negotiate with your subconscious and win. um, I think that's very powerful, because that's it, right? In whenever you are uh, waking up, or thinking whether to go out to exercise or not, it's you versus you. It's you versus your subconscious, and it's you versus all your self-imposed beliefs or self-imposed limitations, right? Whenever you say this, and think about this phrase, uh, what do you think have been some tactics that may help to win these negotiations with your mindset? Do you have any tips that you can give our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Two come to mind. Two specific things come to mind. One, I am a humongous journaler. I journal every single day. The old handwritten, old-fashioned pen to paper, and something that I developed in the last couple of years when personally things got really really hard. I write every day. Today is the first day of the rest of my life. I am, and then whatever I decide that I am, I will, whatever action I'm going to take, because I have earned this opportunity. And so I write that. Today is the first day of the rest of my life. I am assertive. I will accomplish my goals and dreams because I've earned this opportunity to go out and get what I want. So that's the journal activity that I do. The other thing, if I were to show you my mirror right here, I put I am and whatever my word is. So right now, my word is assertive. So I am assertive. That's the character trait, the personality trait that I'm working to develop right now. For several years, my word, my phrase was I am beautiful. And beautiful doesn't mean, good looking on the outside. Beautiful means just a beautiful person inside and out. And that reminded me whenever I would look in the mirror, whenever I would wake up and I would say it 5 times out loud in the morning. Before I went to bed, I would say it 5 times out loud before I went to bed. And I had to convince myself that I was beautiful. I had to go in and even like believe me, there were days I would look at myself. I'm like, yeah, you're as ugly as can be. But I would have to remind myself, I am beautiful. I am beautiful. And what that did was it reinforced every single day that I need to fill up my mind with positive things. I need to fill up my heart with positive things. I need to do positive things with my body, because if you love yourself, if you truly honestly love yourself, if you really are beautiful on the inside, you can't treat yourself poorly. You can't get hammered at till 2 in the morning. You can't eat a large pizza. You can't sit on the couch and binge Netflix all weekend. If you truly, honestly love yourself and you look at yourself in the mirror and you say you love yourself and you believe it, you won't allow yourself to treat yourself that way. And so I had to convince myself that I was better than those activities. Not that I'm better than anybody. I was just better than acting in those poor ways. I was better than getting drunk till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I was better than sitting on my couch. I am beautiful. And that really truly taught me to become a beautiful person, to be kind to someone that's in the stairwell, to be kind to myself and make sure that I'm eating the proper things, to be kind to myself and move my body in a positive way, be kind and not drink alcohol, because all of those things make me feel gross about myself. And I want to do opposite. I want to feel good, because if I can feel good, I can give that positivity, that kindness to you. If I feel like crap because I've been sitting on the couch all weekend, you better believe anybody that I'm going to interact with is going to get the brunt of my poor decisions. And that's not fair to you. It's not fair to me, but it's also not fair to you. So I literally convinced myself with that mirror activity that I am beautiful, and it's changed my entire life, because I can't treat myself that poorly anymore. And therefore, if I'm beautiful, basic psychology 101, cognitive dissonance. If I believe that I'm beautiful, I feel that I'm beautiful, I have to act beautiful, or else it causes internal stress. So I had to convince myself here and here than to be able to act into that world. Most powerful thing I've ever done.
Wow. Yeah, and you know what's also like reading through your website, I reminded myself on the importance on um, these sometimes can be like these small daily actions that you take and these small shifts that you start to take in your life, uh, how much it can really affect your confidence, right, and your self-worth and your self-confidence. That I think that me myself, I've struggled most part of my life with self-worth problems that probably come from my childhood, um, and once I started to do what you said, right, like kind of like whenever you start to act in the ways that you want to feel, you can you it goes both ways, right, and whenever you do things that show to yourself that you love yourself, it's kind of like one vote for that's adding up for the self-worth, right, and the same goes the other way, right, whenever you um, get caught in like bad habits, or you start to do all these bad things for you that can affect your health and your mind, it's voting in like the low self-worth thing. So I think you made me remember that also, like at some point in my life I was like, okay, um, I need to start putting the votes in the right ballot, right? I need to start treating myself the way I want to see myself. So I remember that I started to, okay, I need to prioritize myself, because it was very easy for me to get caught in work, for example, and there's always so much things to do, as a startup founder. And I remember that, I don't know, there were days that I was working, I don't know, 10 to 12 hours a day, and always the excuse for me, like, oh, today I didn't run again, or today I didn't read again, um, today I didn't meditate again. And always my excuse was, okay, I was just too busy, like the work is too busy right now, I can't, I will do it tomorrow. But I realized that by doing that, I was basically telling to my subconscious that work is more important than me, and my company and all the other priorities in life are more important than me, because I am choosing to not put myself first over than work, right? And whenever I started to change that, and I remember that I started to put in my calendar, in like my business calendar, as if I were to have a meeting with somebody. That normally when you have a meeting with somebody in the calendar, you don't miss it, right? Like, it's a priority for you. So I started to do that same thing in my calendar, to put like, okay, this is I'm blocking 30 minutes to go for a run or go for a walk. Um, and I knew that for me, it became very important to do that, because more than just the benefits of the running, right? Because of course I started to feel better with myself, more athletic again, and going and exercising put you in such a great mindset. But uh, more than just the benefits of that, it was that consistently doing that every week, I was putting the votes in the right ballot, right? I was telling to my subconscious, I am worthy of taking that time off. I am worthy of putting myself first. And kind of like in the day to day, you don't really realize that's a shit, that a change is happening. But after a month, after 2 months, after a year of doing that, you look back and you say, like, huh, it's not, I haven't had those bad thoughts in a while, and it really helps. So I love what you said. It's that doing those small things that, yeah, maybe a lot of people say, like, oh, like just talking to myself every day won't make a difference because I am stuck in these ways of thinking. But uh, I don't think it's true. I love what you said.
Absolutely. I can guarantee if you or anyone else can build a consistent routine of talking to yourself more positively every single day, do it for 30 days. Every single day without fail, takes you less than 5 minutes, probably takes you less than 60 seconds. If you could do that every single day for 30 days, it'll change the trajectory of your life. You do it every day for a year, and you won't even recognize yourself in 365 days.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I would put money on it if we were betting in Vegas.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Um, so Gary, now uh, I also know that you've done 100-mile races. That's for me to think it's just insane. I've the most that I've run in my life, I think it's been 10 miles. So running for 100 miles sounds crazy. Um, when did this shift started to happen? For me, it looks like it's such a huge jump from going to from walking 1 mile to running 100 miles. It's a big shift. Um, how was that journey like?
Yes, I see the disconnect on your side because it is like from walking one block to running 100 miles, and I did it in 4 years. I mean, from the to the week, from the first block that I walked consciously to finishing my first 100-mile race, it was 4 years to the week. And so when I look at it that way, I'm like, oh my gosh, like literally, it was my life completely flip flopped, and it did. And I also did it incrementally. I mean, I did it very slowly when I look at it, from a different point of view. So I walked for an entire year. I didn't even take a running step that first year, just walk, 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 walk. And then that second year, I took my first running step and I taught myself to be able to run a mile and then be able to run 5 miles. And then I ran my first half marathon, which was 13 miles. And then just over that 2 year mark, I ran my first marathon, which is 26 miles. And so year one, walking, year two, taught myself to run and ran my first marathon. Year three, I ran my first 50-mile race. And then year four, I ran my first 100-mile race. And so step by step, seemingly it seems huge. And then when I break it down in the years, it's like all I did was I had one focal point. I walked. Okay. Now I taught myself to run. Now I taught myself to run farther. Now I taught myself to run even farther. And so I did it very strategically. So it was very quick, but it was also very strategic. It's not like I went from one block to a goal of 100 miles. I stepped my mindset through. I caught up physically, and then I stepped my mindset through, and then I caught up physically, and I stepped my mindset through, and I caught up physically. And so it was this. If you think of a rubber band, right? So I stretched my rubber band, and then I had to release that tension and then reset my rubber band and stretched it, and then release that tension, reset, and then stretch it a little bit farther. And that allowed the mental tension to be able to go. Because right now, like if you thought about running 100 miles, we'd break your rubber band, right? If I
Yes.
told you have to run 100 miles tomorrow, like you'd mentally snap. You'd be like, it's impossible. But if we said, okay, like what can you do? And I'm just going to make this up. Let's say you can do 1 mile. Great. So we stretch that rubber band, and then let's see, just go run as long as you can. Okay. Let's say you can do 5 miles. We stretch that rubber band, and now we're like, okay, let's go run 5 miles and then walk 5 miles. Well, next thing you know, you're doing 10 miles, but we ran five, which is what you can do, and then we stretched five more, which is what you didn't know you could do. And so all we do is just we tiptoe, until next thing you know, you're like, wow, I can't believe that I'm looking back and this is how much I've done. So I call it the 1 mile rule. Focus on the 3 feet in front of you, like do what you can, and then just do the best you can. If you can run 5 miles, excellent, maximize your 5 miles, and then walk. walk an extra mile, walk an extra 5 miles. If you can walk 20 miles, run 5 and then walk 20. I don't actually care what you do as long as you do your best and you find out what you can do. Because most people, they're like, well, I can't run 10 miles, so I'm not going to run at all. Well, I'd be like, if I can run 5 miles and I can walk 5 miles, let me see if I can do those two together. Or I'll run 5 miles in the morning and walk 5 miles at night. And I'll just start putting these little puzzle pieces together. And next thing you know, I got this massive, awesome puzzle full of cool stuff that most people wouldn't even try because they don't have the mental capacity to break this huge mountain into these little bitty steps. Because like you said earlier, there's no way that this one self-talk is going to make any difference. There's no way that this book, reading for 20 minutes is going to make a difference. There's no way that walking a mile is going to make a difference. But I'll do these little things and I will perfect to the best of perfection that I can get. I'll perfect the little things and become consistent with them. And next thing you know, like all these little things start to add up and it's amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's crazy to think about it. But yeah, whenever you break it down that way, it does sound achievable. Of course, it's gonna take its time, right? But it does sound more achievable. And whenever you started to run, and I know that the first year you were walking, and then you started to run, did you have that goal in your mind, like, oh, I'm gonna run one day 100-mile race, or it was like a goal that kept evolving as you became a better runner and as you started to become faster?
Everything that I've done has evolved. My very first weight loss goal, if you will, was 20 pounds. I was like, if I can get 20 pounds, great. And so I set my goal of 20 pounds and I was going to do it walking and reteaching myself how to eat. Once I lost that 20 pounds, I tiptoed it out and I'm like, all right, let's 20 more. Let's 20 more. Let's 20 more. And next thing you know, I'd lost 110 pounds and I essentially did it, 20 pounds, 20, like a mindset of 20 pounds at a time instead of saying, well, I'm going to lose 200 pounds because there was no way in the world that I thought losing 200 pounds was even possible for me. I didn't even think 20 pounds was possible, if I'm being honest. I just hoped that like if I did the positive things, I would get to 20 pounds. And when I got there, I was like, oh, I did it. Okay, now let's see if I can do 20 more. And so I just chunked it out. It's kind of opposite of how culture and society says, right? Like you buy this pill, I'm going to lose 100 pounds and I'm going to do it through taking this pill. Well, I didn't want to lose 100 pounds. I was like, let me see what I actually can do and I'm going to do it. And then once I get there, then I'll take that next step and I'll build on my successes and then I'll find out what I can do at that point in time.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you talk a little bit about this in your newest book, right? In the book that's called "Success is Spelled Action." I haven't been able to read it yet, but for the people that's listening, can you share a little bit more about that book and what you talk about in the book?
Sure, absolutely. So it's a very simple book. I wrote it so that I could read it. And what I mean by that is it's broken down into teeny tiny chapters. And so at the very end, I break down the numbers. And if I can teach you to do three things, stimulate yourself mentally every day, stimulate yourself emotionally every day, and stimulate yourself physically every day, you can literally change the rest of your life. And so mentally, every day I will read and or talk to a stranger. And what that does is it stimulates my thought process. It gives me new ideas. It gives me things that challenge me to grow forward. I will stimulate myself physically. So I will do a 20-minute walk. If I can get outside, I can get fresh air and I can do a 20-minute walk, then I feel amazing. And if every day I want to stimulate myself emotionally, so I will journal and or I will laugh, cry, scream from the top of a mountain, whatever gets that emotional energy moving. So the point of me telling you those three things is every single day I do them for 20 minutes or less. Now, most of the time it's 20 minutes. I'll go for a 20-minute walk, and next thing you know, I'm walking for 2 hours. But the point is, on the days, so like you said, I have to schedule 20 minutes, and my calendar's booked from minute to minute for 14 hours. I will schedule a 20-minute walk, and if I can get that 20 minutes of fresh air, I win the day. And that 1 mile, that 20 minutes, if I get 1 mile every single day, that's 365 miles
Mhm.
every single year. And that's a bare minimum, right? So
Mhm.
if I can read 10 pages of a good book, right? A positive inspirational book, read 10 pages, about 20 minutes of reading, that adds up to about one book a month. That's 12 books a year. And I can guarantee you that 12 books a year, positive books, will change your life. That's 60 new books every 5 years, 120 books every 10 years. I can guarantee you if we read 12 books, our life would be changed. If we read 120, our neighbors wouldn't even be able to recognize us anymore. 20
Yeah.
pages of 20 minutes of journaling, meditation or breathing, laughing, crying, screaming, whatever that is. I know that sounds a little ridiculous to kind of put an emotional release into 20 minutes, but if you can breathe for 20 minutes, like consciously meditate and breathe, that clears your mind for 20 minutes. If you take out a television show, because a television show is 22 minutes long, you remove a television show and you add meditation, journaling, breathing, like something positive, you literally cut out 365 television shows a year, and you're probably going to journal somewhere around 1,000 pages of emotional clarity, meditating, breathing, positive emotions. That's 360 times two, because you're adding in 365 positive things, crowding out 365 unhealthy and poor behaviors. That's literally getting twice the results with half the effort. And it's all about building consistent self-discipline on positive things, add in the positive, crowd out the unhealthy and the poor behaviors, and you literally get twice the results. I know everybody's looking for the easy way, everybody's looking for the comfortable way. Like, you can't get any easier than this. Cut
Yeah.
out 20 minutes, add in 20 minutes, and literally you get twice the results. The important piece is you have to schedule it. You have to schedule it with yourself. You have to make yourself a priority. You have to feel worthy enough. I think you nailed all of those things. And you better believe I will schedule myself on my calendar first, and then everybody else can have their way at my calendar. But I'm going to schedule time with myself first, because if I'm not emotionally fulfilled, I'm giving you 100% right now. Like, you get 100% of me. If I didn't get my walk in today, if I didn't get my journaling in, I'd be sitting here like, oh, come on, are we done yet? No, I'm right here. I'm with you. But that comes from the daily disciplines of doing what I need to do to fill myself up so that I can explode when I'm with you and everyone else, because we're all in the people business. If I can help you feel good, that means that you're going to give someone else positive feelings, which means they're going to give someone else positive feelings. If I'm sitting here, man, I don't want to be here, you're going to be like, oh, dang it, he doesn't like me. And then you're going to pass that on to the next person you see in the elevator, who's going to pass it on to the person that doesn't open the door at the grocery store. It's all of these, it's all these positive things. And if we can just fill up ourselves first, be worthy to do the positive things, love ourselves, be beautiful, we can literally change the world. But it takes here, and it takes here to actually do what we need to do.
I love it, Gary. Thank you so much. This has been very, very fun, and I've learned a lot today. Thank you for everything that you've shared. And if people want to learn more about you and your work, what's the best place for them to reach you?
You can hit me up at GaryStotler.com, and that's my main website. That's the best way you can do it. If you want, you can get Success is Spilled Action on Amazon. I have a couple other books out there as well, a couple poetry books, one to learn how to journal, and Instagram. I hang out on Instagram a little bit, Coach Gary Stotler, but for the most part, I just kind of do my own thing, and then when someone invites me on, I like to have some fun.
Awesome, Gary. Thank you so much again. and hope you have a great week.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting me be here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello everyone, this is Nico again, and just a few more things before you take off. If you'd like to be part of the Waku tribe to be the first one to know about the launch of exclusive flavors, special promotions, and content about health and wellness, just go to livewaku.com, that's livewaku.com, and sign up for our email list. And if you sign up, I hope you enjoy being part of our community.